Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica, and that's Jacob, and you are here in the first episode of Movies You Should Love, Totally Legit Movies. The whole point of this show is we're going to get together every so often and talk about movies that we love, that are underappreciated, and that we think you should love. So the movies today we're going to talk about are Youre Next, which is a 2013 home invasion slasher movie, and Tank Girl, which is a 1995 awesome movie.
We've seen a lot of movies, and we know everybody else has. But there are some movies that we've seen that you guys haven't, and there are some movies that other people have seen that we haven't, even between ourselves.
As well as just, talking about movies that we have seen in later episodes, we're also going to make each other watch movies that the other person hasn't seen that we really think they should.
Yeah, there are entire genres that either of us are averse to for various reasons, so it'll be great, and we'll take suggestions on movies too.
All right, well, let's get to the first movie.
Hello, I'm Jessica. He's Max. And today we're talking about Youre Next. Okay, now I have to take this mask off.
The movie was written by Simon Barrett and directed by Adam Wingard, who both were responsible for A Horrible Way to Die and The Rappers of VHS. The ensemble team of actors include familiar faces AJ Bowen and Joe Swanberg, as well as Aussie Sharni Vinson. Even writer-director Ty West showed up on the screen in a short role, so hey, the modern indie horror gang is all here. Critic Simon Abrams of RogerEbert.com said the movie was, quote, simultaneously nihilistic and grossly incompetent horror homage. Nihilistic, I think, is a bad word to use, because when someone says nihilistic in reference to a horror movie, I start thinking like torture porn or martyrs or that sort of thing, and I don't think this was that at all.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it nihilistic per se. If anything, it was a very loving homage to the kind of the home invasion slashers of the 90s and Home Alone, strangely.
Yes, I also got a little bit of a sense of Dead Alive at the end there, without going into too much detail, just sort of the gleeful gore. This movie was a love letter to home invasion movies.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of complaints and a lot of weird comparisons. Well, not that weird considering. Comparisons between this and The Strangers, because, three creepy, seemingly motiveless psychos in white masks invade a house and attack a hapless couple or couples, as the case may be. But this was almost like a horror comedy. This was almost black comedy after a point.
It was, yeah, no, it was a fun romp of a home invasion slasher movie.
It subverted a lot of expectations, which automatically makes me like it more.
That's funny.
What?
It's open.
In the first couple minutes, I was like, okay, I've seen this movie. I know where this is going to go. I know exactly where this all is going to go, and it did not go there.
That's, I think, one of the best compliments we can give the movie, really, is that the writers and directors knew exactly what we were going to think and what we were thinking in that first, that opening scene and setup and whatnot. And once things kind of took their first big twist, you could really feel that they were kind of, right alongside us, sort of cackling with glee as things did not go according to plan.
This movie, it was done in 2011. It finally came out at the end of last year. It actually has pretty high praise on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. It's about at 75%, but I don't think it got the commercial success that it wanted, and people don't seem to know about it. So why should someone see this movie?
Honestly, I think the entire reason it got it slid under the radar was just due to bad handling by the distributor. I don't think it has anything to do with the movie at all. The movie is great. I think anyone that likes the classic sort of masked slasher style home invasion movies should really definitely give these a watch. Yeah, this movie was just it was a total love letter. It was very, very well put together.
Well, I think that's it. So Youre Next. If you like home invasion movies, if you like slasher movies, if you like sort of modern winking indie horror, there's a lot of that now, especially with the Ty West crowd, as I've come to think of them. Definitely check this out. It's really good.
Absolutely.
So the first video we are going to talk about today, the first movie, is Tank Girl. Tank Girl is based on a cult British comic of the same name by Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, who also kind of wrote the movie. Tank Girl stars Lori Petty. It stars Naomi Watts in her first American role. It stars Ice-T as a mutant kangaroo with the soul of a cop. And Malcolm McDowell, who is, of course, amazing. And the plot of Tank Girl is pretty straightforward. In the year 2044, there's a huge worldwide drought, and now water is officially controlled by Malcolm McDowell and the Water and Power Corporation. So this movie has a 39% rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And reviewer Almar Half-Littison of the BBC said at the time it came out, the movie is, quote, a frenzied mess that's dull in the extreme. Dull is not the word I would use for this.
Yeah, I don't think dull is a good representation of what Tank Girl is. It's certainly chaotic and fragmented, I guess, to some extent, but it's not dull. Like, there's a song and dance number.
Right, and there's lots of people get punched in the face, and people get torn apart, and I would say fractured is probably a good way to describe this movie. If I had one negative I could say about it is that it was a little bit all over the map. It felt like they kind of threw everything in, including the kitchen sink, and they weren't entirely sure how it was all going to come together, but it's glorious in its messiness.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. In what it was trying to be. I think Scott Pilgrim is a better movie overall, but, Tank Girl incorporated the feel of reading the comic book into the movie, and I think that's really cool.
I think another thing we have to give props for in this movie, if you think, why should someone watch Tank Girl? The fashion is amazing. And not just sort of in a traditional, the fashion, everyone gets dressed up. It's insane. According to IMDb, Tank Girl wears 18 different outfits in the 103 minutes of the movie. Yeah, that's it. I was surprised too.
The fact that they're in this like post-apocalyptic world and everything's scarce and they're scavengers and stuff, and like when she starts the movie, it definitely feels like her clothes fit in with that, right? I mean, it's still sort of like 90s, mid-90s punk rock, whatever, that's what it is, or grunge maybe. That's cool, but then she also changes clothes and like is cutting them apart, and like just it seems like ridiculously wasteful if you think about it for a couple minutes. That totally adds to the comic book feel too, right? I mean, like that, and her hair changes every scene. Like basically every time she's on camera, her hair is different, and it's amazing.
According to Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, who did the comic, they were really disappointed with the way the movie came out.
I think that's probably part of why it felt sort of fractured. Naomi Watts' character Jet goes from being like really sort of nerdy and technical to like giggling weirdly. Feels like there's a few different personalities sort of mashed together, and not that like those things can't work together, but they feel like they're two different characters, two different characterizations of the same person, sort of mashed together based on which scene filmed better.
I have 2 words for you. Brush your teeth!
The other thing that has to have props in this movie is the soundtrack is fucking amazing. It is 90s to the nth degree. I took a look. It's got Bjork, Veruca Salt, Bush, Hole, Portishead, Belly, L7, Joan Jett, Devo. Like, oh my god. And
Ice-T raps. Just from the beginning, I was like, man, this sounds like the 90s. I want to be there.
I read a lot of criticisms that it's too silly and not gritty enough, but it did do a fairly good job of dystopian future.
I mean, it's not a realistic dystopian future, right? But certainly the things that they were dealing with are potentially true, water shortages and whatever. And I mean, it did feel like they had thought through the consequences of that world.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good thought, and perhaps it's just because it comes from a well-established comic, but you're right, the world building is super duper good. So if you had to summarize, why should someone love this movie?
It's just so 90s. Like, it's not a good movie, but it's really fun. And you know, it doesn't take itself seriously, and you shouldn't attempt to take it seriously. But I don't know, it has a badass female character as the lead and another badass female character as her main companion, and it has fucking kangaroo men, and Ice-T is one of them, so watch it for that.
I agree. It has mutant kangaroo men, including Ice-T, who do a little, I don't know, sort of Australian outback dance. So, I mean, what else are you looking for out of a movie?
Yeah, I don't want anything else. That's all I want.
That's all I want. So what we're telling you is, everyone go watch Tank Girl. It is a movie that you should love.